I've watched sellers leave $70,000 on the table before they even listed. They used the Zestimate, or they looked at what their neighbor got on their house last spring, or they just priced it based on what they actually needed to walk away with. Now, none of these are market data. And in 2026, homes are selling for less than asking price on average. You need three strategies that actually work, plus how to read the real comps and why your price has to survive an appraisal. This is just business sense and common sense. All right, let's talk about the three wrong starting points that I see over and over. Number one is the Zestimate trap. I've had a colleague check her own home's value on three different websites. The numbers were $40,000 apart. $40,000. Which one's right? Maybe neither of them. Those automated valuations can't see inside your home. They don't know you upgraded your kitchen last year, or that your roof is 15 years old, or that you have a valley view and the door and the home 2 doors down stares at a wall. The algorithms crunch the square footage and recent sales, but that is not actually market data. It's a guess dressed up as math. Number two, the neighbor's price. What your neighbor got last spring isn't what you would get right now. Interest rates shift, inventory shifts, and seasonality matters in Southern California, just like anywhere else. Last spring might have been a feeding frenzy at the moment. This spring might be a standoff where buyers negotiate hard on every single repair, and you can't price your home based on the market data that doesn't exist anymore. And number three is the I need this price. What you need to clear your mortgage isn't what the market will pay. I get it. You've got a number in your head, and that is the number you have to get if you're actually going to sell your home. You've run the math on your next home or your kid's college fund or whatever it is, but pricing from your personal needs is a fast way to sit stale while equity keeps bleeding. Every week without an offer costs you money in carrying costs and stress. You wind up chasing the market down instead of leading it. So if those are the wrong starting points, what's the right one? You have to understand how buyers actually shop. Buyers don't search for $872,500. They search $800,000 to $900,000 or $850,000 to $950,000. Miss the bracket, and your home is invisible to a lot of buyers. Here's where it gets interesting. Pricing at $999,000 lands you in a different bracket than pricing at $900,000 even. The dollar difference is tiny, but the search band is a massive difference to many people. One puts you at the top of the lower bracket where you look like the best deal, and the other puts you at the bottom of a higher bracket where you look like the weakest option in the market. In Ventura right now, the median price is around $920,000, with homes moving around 26 days. If you're off by a little bit, that can mean $1,000 or thousands of dollars right away. If you're the nicest home in the lower bracket, you look like a steal. If you're the weakest home in a higher bracket, you look like you might be overpriced before anybody walks through your door. See how that works? Your price is more than a number. It's a market decision that controls who sees your house and what they compare you against. All right, now that you know how buyers are searching, let's talk about the three pricing strategies. Strategy number one is the at market price. This is a safe play. You're priced at the top of the comparable sold range, not above it. You're the best house at a fair price. Buyers see you and think this is a solid deal and it's not going to last. When do you use this? In a normal, balanced market. Normal inventory where there might not be too much of a bidding war, but there might be a little bit of one. Also, when you're on a timeline. Maybe you've got a job relocation or you're under contract already on your next home. The advantage is you attract serious buyers, clean offers, and a faster close. The risk is you're too conservative, you leave money on the table, but in 2026, most homes are closing under the asking price. Conservative is usually the smart play. You might not get into a bidding war, but you also won't sit stale on the market and start getting lowball offers. But what if you want to create some heat? That's where strategy number 2 comes in. Strategy number 2 is pricing 3 to 5% below the comps suggest. This lands you at the top of a lower search bracket, and that's not an accident. Buyers see a nice home at a ceiling of where their budget is, and they think they're about to get a deal. If 3 or 4 buyers think the same thing at the same time, you create some market heat. You get multiple offers, and suddenly you are in the driver's seat. This works best when inventory is low and demand is high. Your home might have a feature that square footage comps miss out. You might have redone the pool last year or added an ADU, and that can bring in some rental income. Or you're in walking distance to the best school in town. Those things don't always show up in the algorithms, but buyers feel them when they do their walkthrough. But here's where most people mess up. In 2026, the bidding war era is mostly over. Homes are selling below asking price on average, and in a micro neighborhood is flooded with inventory, or your house has a real flaw. Underpricing doesn't spark the bidding war that it used to. It just gets you a lower price. You can't copy what worked in 2021. Manipulating multiple offers is a skill. You need an agent or some practice and a system that can help you do this. Biggest issue you need to handle is appraisal problems. It's a powerful thing to know how to handle. Now, strategy 3 is one I see blow up the most in the market: above market pricing. This is where you price above the comparable sold range because you think your home is special. And let's be honest, we all do. And you want room to negotiate down. But I'm going to be straight with you. This works maybe 5% of the time. Most of the time, you just shoot yourself in the foot. It only makes sense when you have a true one-of-a-kind property, custom built on acreage, views that have no comps. If you're in a standard tract home in Moore Park or Simi Valley with the same floor plan as 3 doors down, your property is just not that unique. Here's what happens over 95% of the time in this scenario. The first 2 weeks are the most valuable of your marketing window, but if you're overpriced, you miss that window and you become stale very fast. Buyers assume something's wrong. First, they didn't go look at it because it was overpriced, and then they look at it because it's just sitting on the market. They wonder why it's been sitting when everything else is selling. Then you get lowball offers. Eventually, you drop the price, but you've missed out on all of that initial momentum, and now your pricing signals look like weakness. It's like blood in the water. Think about the math. You overpriced by $50,000, you sit for 6 days, you drop it $30,000, and you take an offer $40,000 below your final ask. Result? You get less than if you would have just priced it right to begin with. That's money out of your pocket, and it's avoidable with a little bit of common sense up front. How do you actually read the comps so you know which strategy to pick? You look at all 3 things: active listings, pending listings, and sold comparables. Active listings are your competition, not the comps. They tell you what buyers are seeing right now. If every active listing in your micro neighborhood is priced lower than you, guess what? You're overpriced right now. And the buyers are scrolling right past you. Pending sales tell you where the market is heading. If the pending sales are flat or down from last quarter, that's the direction. Price based on where things are going, not where they are today, not where they are 3 months ago. Sold comps tell you what has actually closed, but you have to adjust for condition, upgrades, lot size, and timing. A house that sold in March is not the same as the market that is in June, and 2 blocks can be a big difference in school district or flood zone, or even just the price bracket. In Ventura County, prices vary by nearly $300,000 city by city. So don't compare your home to a sale across town unless you know exactly why the numbers are different. And remember, those first 2 weeks are your entire marketing campaign. After that, you are fighting an uphill battle. Buyers in 2026 have more leverage than they've had in years. So if you miss that window, you don't get it back. But here's the gatekeeper that most sellers forget about until it's too late: the appraisal. Even if a buyer falls in love and offers $50,000 over asking price, there's a lender that won't fund it if the appraisal comes in low. In 2026, appraisal gap is widening. Climate risk and limited comparable sales are making appraisers more conservative than they have been for a long time. What happens in a low appraisal? The buyer has to bring cash to make up the gap, or the seller has to lower the price. And let's be honest, sellers are less willing to bridge the gap with their own cash. So your price has to survive the appraisal, not just attract the offer. Here's your any market dial. In a hot market, lean towards strategy 2, slightly under. In a cooling market, strategy 1, at market, is a smart play. Strategy 3 is almost never the right call, especially in 2026, unless you have a truly unique property. All right, if you're looking for additional guidance, please feel free to download my seller's workbook. It's right there in the description below. And in part 3, we're going to talk about the biggest strategies for staging your property. So subscribe and don't miss out.
From the coast to the hills, we know the way. Quiet key, soft light, Ventura.